Puppet Master. Oh boy, is this a weird one. Released in 1989, Puppet Master is of course about sinister puppets who come to life and kill people, where they are armed with knives, drills, and the ability to vomit up leeches. The most unique thing about Puppet Master is that in this day and age of post-Gremlins and Critters, you would think that Puppet Master would be just a fun, glorified cheese fest. Except that it isn't. For a movie about killer dolls, Puppet Master surprisingly takes itself very seriously. So in Puppet Master, we follow Alex Whittaker, who, armed with his weird psychic visions and epic 80s mullet, heads down to a Holiday Inn where other fellow psychics attend, where it's also revealed that one of the psychics in this psychic community has committed suicide, in which his body seems to lurk about the place. Because, you know, nothing weird about that, I guess. Where each of the psychics have weird visions and premonitions. Where one by one, something evil and sinister seems to be taking out the psychics. An evil that takes on the form of demented-looking puppets. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. This film is a strange one indeed. And definitely a movie for all of those who just love obscure horror cinema. It's time to buff up the crazy 80s hair and stab dead people to make sure that they are really dead, and get freaky with some random hotel room psychic bondage as we check out 10 things that you may not know about Puppet Master. And yes, all those crazy things that I just mentioned actually happen in the film. Number 10. Puppets and Birds. Puppet Master is set in the country seaside town of Bodega Bay, making Puppet Master the second big-time horror movie to be set in the Californian town. The other, of course, is Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. Yep, if this poor place didn't have a hard enough time, what with all the psychotic, bloodthirsty birds flying about the place, the townspeople now also have to be fearing the evil killer dolls. I personally like to think that the two movies are set in the same universe. I don't know, to me, that just makes it more fun, and maybe one day, we might get a Birds vs Puppets movie. But in the meantime, I'm staying away from Bodega Bay, as it seems that small, otherwise harmless things want to kill you to death there. Speaking of other horror movies, this puppet in Puppet Master is called Pinhead. You know, just thought I'll throw it out there. Number 9. Not coming to a theatre near you. The Puppet Master was a straight-to-video release, coming out at a time when straight-to-video releases were becoming more and more popular. However, that originally wasn't meant to be the case. It was originally planned that Puppet Master would indeed get a cinematic release in 1989. It was at the hands of the producer Charles Bland that this decision was made, as he felt the video would make more money on the video market than it would the theatrical one. And so, Puppet Master must have done something right while sitting on video shelves, as the film was a hit with fans, and the very next year, Puppet Master 2 came out, which then of course led to an entirely huge franchise. Number 8. Remake stopped dead in its tracks. Considering that Puppet Master has gone on to become a hugely popular franchise, it should come as no surprise that there was a planned reboot for Puppet Master. I mean, why not? After all, this is the day and age where simply everything has to get remade or rebooted. And let's face it, it all just would have been CGI. However, Puppet Master is one of those few times where the fan base prevailed and prevented yet another unnecessary remake, as fans were very vocal about their displeasure of the news of the upcoming remake, which was to come out in 2010. So amidst all the negative backlash, it was decided to pull the plug on the remake and cancel the idea, because clearly Puppet Master is a franchise that cares about its fans. So instead, that year, Puppet Master Axis of Evil came out, and was the 9th installment in the original series. You know, I would say that I'm happy that the remake got cancelled, but the last time I spoke about how happy I was that a remake got cancelled was in my Monster Squad video, where one over-emotional person with anger management issues in the comments section threatened to hit me for expressing my joy for the movie's remake getting cancelled. Yeah, that's right, I was actually threatened with violence. So this time, in case the person is watching, I'm not going to express how happy and excited I am that the remake got cancelled. Nope, I'm not happy at all that the Puppet Master remake never happened. Number 7. Rejected Puppet. The original Puppet Master features 7 terrifying puppets, some of which will literally beat the crap out of you and even regurgitate leeches on you. Oh yeah, you know it's bad news when these little bastards are in town, and that people are going to get messed up from here. However, there was originally going to be 8 puppets. One puppet character who didn't make it to the assault lineup in Puppet Master was a 6-armed ninja puppet with big guns. Hell yeah! Does that puppet sound badass or what? But the character wasn't used, but he did however turn up in Puppet Master 3, finally giving this bloodthirsty twerp his time to shine. Only they changed him from a ninja to a cowboy. But as for the original movie, I'm not surprised that one of the puppets got dropped. After all, the Blade puppet required at least 5 people to operate him. Number 6. Puppet Master of the Printed Page. So if you can't get enough of watching Puppet Master on the small screen, then don't worry, your local comic store has you covered, as there have been a variety of comic book series based on the Puppet Master franchise, where all the pint-sized terror and carnage continues. Seriously, look at Pinhead here about to get frisky. It's weird. In fact, the comic series actually features a lot of scantily clad women. The comic didn't hold back on the gore either. Yeah, look at this guy getting his eyeball ripped out. Ugh. So if you think your comic book diet is lacking tiny puppets, bloody carnage, and women not wearing very much at all, then the Puppet Master comic books have you covered. These comics seriously look rude, vulgar, and disgusting. I must get my own copies immediately. Number 5. The puppets hardly show up in the movie. Now, some of you may remember in my Beetlejuice episode, I said that Beetlejuice is such a remembered presence in that movie, which is weird because he is barely in his own film, with a screen time of 17 minutes. Well, Puppet Master is worse, as the evil puppets, you know, as in the critters the movie is named after, have less than 5 minutes of screen time, making Beetlejuice's on-screen duration look like the Godfather trilogy. Yep, these little assholes barely make it into their own film. And why is this? Could it be because the filmmakers were embarrassed by them and wanted to show them as little as possible? Well, I don't know. But to me, the original Puppet Master feels like it was 2 movies, or rather 2 scripts merging into one. On one hand, you've got an evil doll movie, where nasty toys are on a mark, and on the other hand, you have this serious mystery about a bunch of psychics meeting up in a mysterious hotel, where there is a dead body that turns up, along with strange visions of leeches. The first half of the movie is literally just watching these psychics strut about the Bodega Bay Hotel, and often when I watch it, I forget that I'm even watching a killer doll movie until the puppets eventually turn up. It kind of makes me wonder if the writers had 2 stories in mind and just merged them into one. Either way, in that original movie, the puppets are there in their 5-minute glory. I think things got better with the sequels, as there was more puppet time, along with more gore and more, Nazis? Yep, it's that time again. It's awkward o'clock. Speaking of sequels, number 4, let's make a franchise. For a movie about psychics getting preyed upon in a hotel in a sleepy seaside town, Puppet Master sure did gain a ton load of sequels, as there is now 10 entries. That's right, Puppet Master beats Freddy, Michael Myers, Leatherface, and Chucky when it comes to its onslaught of sequels. The first sequel, Puppet Master 2, came out in 1990, 1 year after the original. The next year, in 1991, the Puppet Master 3 came out. Then the Puppet Master 4, The Demon, came out in 1994, and the Puppet Master 5, The Final Chapter, came out in 1995. Okay, what is it with horror sequels and using the subtitle, The Final Chapter? Whenever you read that, you just know this isn't the final chapter. So why do they keep doing it? The sixth Puppet Master entry didn't come out until 1998. With Curse of the Puppet Master. Then the following year, Retro Puppet Master came out. Then Puppet Master The Legacy came out in 2003. Once again, what's with the predictable sequel subtitles? How many other franchises have used the title The Legacy? Anyway, there was then Puppet Master Axis of Evil in 2010 and Puppet Master Axis Rising in 2012. And finally, Puppet Master Axis Termination in 2017. There is said to be more Puppet Master movies on the way, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get Puppet Master The Resurrection, or Puppet Master Message in a Bottle, or even Puppet Master Electric Boogaloo. Number 3. Tiny Hotel. Back to the original movie. Most of the action takes place in a hotel. However, the hotel in the movie simply doesn't exist. And the hotel seen in the exterior shots of the movie was just a miniature. The miniature was in fact the size of a barrel. And when the miniature was filmed, it was done so by hanging the miniature in the air, in a way that made it look like it was built on the ground. The irony of all this, of course, is the movie is about a bunch of tiny murderous monsters, and yet even they would have been too big for the original hotel that was used. Number 2. Toy Box Crossover. So throughout the 90s and early 2000s, the Puppet Master was undoubtedly a popular franchise amongst fans. However, in 2004 there was an unofficial crossover with another movie called Puppet Master vs. Demonic Toys. Demonic Toys is another straight-to-video horror movie that came out in 1992. And considering that in 2004, the world had just bared witness to Jason vs. Freddy, I guess it was time to see the puppets from Puppet Master go against the demonic toys. The film also features Corey Feldman because, it's Corey Feldman, so why the hell not, I guess. Number 1. Origins of the name. You gotta admit, the Puppet Master is a pretty simple yet intriguing name. It allures both mystery and danger. I mean, it's like, this is the Puppet Master. Well, it's got its name because previously the producer, Charles Brand, had been working on a movie called The Dungeon Master, where everyone at the time had expressed to him that they liked the title. So for that very reason, why the hell not? Just recycle the damn title. So when the Puppet Master was made, he named it so purely on the grounds of his previous movie, Dungeon Master. Either way, it's a great name. Alright then, well that was my look into the Puppet Master, the movie about killer dolls with no strings attached. It just goes to show that sometimes a movie doesn't need a big, huge, spectacular cinema release, and that it can still thrive and gain a huge cult following, even if released on the smaller scale on a straight-to-video release. And without a doubt, straight-to-video releases like the Puppet Master have paved the way for modern medias, such as Netflix movie releases. Anyway, I'm Minty, and beware of puppets. They are evil and will spew leeches all over you. And let's face it, who's got time for that? See ya!